Hello everyone and welcome to Witches of the Moon. My name is Jen and I'm your Tuesday hostess. Now this week we're talking about psychic development and different techniques in which to develop all your psychic abilities. Now this can also go into your mediumship abilities, but for the most part we start out with the psychic abilities first. Now for me it just seems to come natural. Although, as much as I've asked for a mentor and thought I needed one, everyone around me seems to think that I don't need a mentor. Actually, what they tell me is I need to develop my techniques all by myself. And that is something that I have done. This is also something that I teach, and I am currently in the process of writing courses for psychic development. So be looking out for that. I will announce that when that is ready. But what are some of the ways that you can actually develop your own psychic abilities? And really, the very first thing that I always tell everybody, it begins with meditation. The very first thing that you want to do is to be able to meditate, be able to ground and center and connect with your guides. That's your very first thing. But it starts with meditation. Once you can master the meditation, and I'm not saying that you have to sit and you have to meditate for hours. There are many different ways that you can meditate. Being in the shower, not thinking about anything else, is a form of meditation. Going for a walk is a form of meditation. There's many different ways in which you can meditate. It doesn't mean that you have to sit in a room with candles lit or incense or whatever it is and sit and meditate. And it doesn't have to be for hours at a time. It can be for a very short period of time. What I recommend for those who have never meditated is to start out with going for a minute. Try for a minute. Aim for 1 minute of meditation, of nothing but quiet time. This can be done when you first wake up. This can be done before you go to bed. It really doesn't matter. But that is the one place that I always suggest for everyone to start. After you have mastered that, then we start looking into working with your clairs. We'll get to your guides soon, but the very next thing that I always suggest for people to do is to really look at the clairs. What is your strongest point? Start with that one. Are you clear seeing? Are you clear hearing? And I'm using these terms because it's something that people can remember. You know, what is it that you do? Do you see images in your mind? Then you're a clairvoyant for the most part. Do you hear things even when nobody else is around? And there's different ways of hearing things. You may hear something in your mind. It doesn't have to be actually something audible that like as if you're having a conversation with somebody. You can hear it many different ways, just as you can see different things. Doesn't mean that you have to see something materialize in front of you. You can actually see things as if you are watching a movie in your mind. And that is being a clairvoyant or being clairaudient. There's many different ways. Do you smell things? Do you taste things? Do you just know things before they happen? Those are the kind of things that you want to do. Something that I always have my students to do is, let's say they're going to another state and they've never been there before. They're going to a hotel. What I always suggest for them to do is to get a piece of paper, just sit and be quiet. And whatever comes to them about the location where they're going, just write it down. It doesn't have to make any sense to anybody else. Just write it all down. Put it away, and then when you get to that location, pull that paper out and see how many of those things you got right. That's one of the ways you can start to develop and work your muscles. Just like with fitness, those muscles have to be worked as well. Now, another thing that I always suggest for people to do, let's say your phone is ringing. Okay, so what do? Instead of just rushing to pick it up, see if you can figure out who's calling before you actually go to the phone. You'll be surprised at how easy this gets after you do this a number of times. Another thing that I always suggest for people to do, if you're the passenger in a vehicle and you're on a long trip, think of a number or think of an image. And don't even say it out loud, just say it in your mind. And you'll be surprised. See if those things pop up. I do this a lot when I'm just really bored and I'm like, okay, well, let's see what happens. I will come up with a sequence of numbers, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to state it has to be on a a license plate or anything like that. It could be on a sign. It could be, wherever. But along my route, I always seem to find that image. It will just pop into my view. Literally, I've done that where I've set a number and a car passes us, and the car that passes us has the exact numbers that I had just asked to see. So you can do that kind of thing, and that kind of is interesting as well. Another thing that you can do is just when you're working on your clear hearing, your clear audience. Sit in a room and just listen. See what sounds you can hear. See how far you can see, how far you can hear. Another thing that I always suggest for people to do is to go into a mall. Now you want to make sure that you have someone with you, because what I'm going to ask you to do is just to close your eyes for a few minutes and just listen and just be. See if you can meditate with everything going on, because that's when it's the most crucial. It's those moments that we need to be able to meditate and to be able to connect and block all the other sounds out and still be able to get information that we need, especially when we're in crisis mode, or we feel like something's just not right, or we're not balanced, or we're too open, or whatever the case may be. That's one of the best things that you can do for yourself, is to be able to meditate no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, to be able to go in and find that inner peace, that inner silence, to where you can clear your mind and think of what you need to think about. Another thing that I always suggest is, I know many people have altars, and one of the things that I always suggest when you're first starting out is, if you are going to create an altar, and it doesn't have to be anything big. It can be something that's very simple. It can be just a chair with a little table to where you can put a candle on it, or whatever else that you want to put on it. It can be something as simple as that. But this place is a place that you're going to come back to every single time, every single day when you start to meditate. This is where your guides, your team is going to be waiting for you, and try to do this about the same time every single day if you can. The more consistent you are with us, the better results that you will have. But also, we're going to take this a step farther. Now that you've created an altar in the physical, what about when you travel? What about when you travel and you need that space? Well, that's where you're going to go into a meditation, and you're going to create that sacred space. You're going to learn how to open the door to a room. You're going to visualize a room, and it's going to be your room. It's going to be whatever you want it to be. And it doesn't even have to look like your house, your altar, or anything else. This is yours, and yours alone. Because when you're away, you're going to be able to tap into that. And you're going to be able to walk through those doors and sit down and meditate and do what you need to do, even when you don't have your candles, even when you're not home, even when you don't have any of your tools that you normally have. This is just for you. And you can access this sacred place when you're on a plane, when you're in a hotel, when you're at your in-laws or a friend's house, or wherever you may be. This is going to be a place that's only for you to be able to enter. Only you will know how to access that place. And that's something that's very important. While we have the physical, you also need the non-physical in order to be able to continue to develop and do what you do. The other thing that I always recommend is having a journal. And a journal is very important. Now, you can have a journal for many things. You can have a journal that you use for symbols. You can have a journal that you use for dreams. You can have a journal that you use for meditations, or you can combine the three. Just have a journal that you're going to take with you and have near you at all times. That journal is going to be very important. because you may have a meditation and you may want to write down everything that you saw, everything that you heard about that meditation. You may have gotten a message that next week, or in a year from now, or it doesn't even have to be a specific date, but you may got a message about something that's going to happen in the future. Write that down so that when that does occur, you can go back and look and see if it occurred exactly how you thought it would. And it's also a great way to look and see how far you've progressed. Where were you at when you started? Where are you at now? There are many great opportunities out there. There are many great programs that you can take. There's many books out there that you can read. One of the books that I always recommend is John Edward, Infinite Quest. It's a really good beginner book. I've also written a book on psychic development, and it's called The Ups and Downs and the Aha Moments of Your Journey. And I wrote that book because I had a lot of people calling me, asking me to teach them. And I thought, okay, well, the best way to reach them is just to write a book. Well, that didn't help. Because, it did help. It did help a lot of people, but I still have people coming to me asking for me to teach. So I'm now teaching. And so that is one of the great things about it. You can get a book, and I recommend reading books because you're going to find tips along the way that you can use to help others and to help yourself. You need to help yourself before you can help others. But you will find books that have different little tips in them to where you can try them and say, maybe that will work. Maybe it won't. My book is one of those that will help you get started on your journey, but it also shares my own personal journey and how it started and the things that happened to me along the way. As I said, my aha moments. Because there would be things that would happen and be like, okay, well, that explains why I was doing this or why I was doing that. So it really helped me, and I know it helped others. I've had really good feedback, even from other psychic mediums who have read the book, and they have said that it's helped them with their own journey. So that's something else that you can check out. But my very first book that I read was John Edward, Infinite Quest. And he had a lot of great things in there, and that's where I learned about creating sacred space without having sacred space, without physically being there. So that's one of the things that I learned. So, like I said, there's other courses that you can take, but that's really all I have on this topic. If you have any other questions, please put them in the comments below. Be sure to watch everybody's video. I'm sure that they are going to have a wealth of information about how they've developed their own psychic abilities and everything else. For me, it's kind of been on my own. I've not really had someone say, okay, well, this is exactly what you do. It's all been trial and error. And so I'm just going to, use what I know, what I've learned through my own process to help others. So anyways, that's all I have for now. So until next week, I'll talk to you later. Bye.